That evening in the kitchen when Linda calmly said, "I'm leaving you for my ex after 23 years and I'm taking half of everything," I thought I must have misheard her. We had spent over 2 decades building a life together, 2 children, a home we painstakingly renovated ourselves, and a business we had grown side by side. I stared at her expecting a joke, a punchline, anything to break the moment. But she stood there, composed, almost triumphant, as if finally delivering words she had rehearsed countless times. The silence that followed felt suffocating. My chest tightened but my mind sharpened with clarity. The way she said half of everything made it obvious. This wasn't impulsive. She had planned it. In the days that followed, the extent of her plotting became clear. Carl, her old flame, the same man who had left her for someone else before I came along, had returned to her life 6 months prior. They reconnected at a high school reunion, began texting, and eventually met for coffee. I had noticed subtle changes, her moods, new outfits, a perfume she hadn't worn in years, but assumed it was just a midlife shift or stress. Betrayal had never crossed my mind. When she finally announced she was leaving, she already had an apartment in her name, signed with Carl's help. Anger rose slowly, replaced by a colder, more calculated determination. I wasn't going to beg or scream. I'd seen too many men lose everything in divorces by reacting emotionally. Not me. I spent the next week pretending to go along with her plan. "If that's what you want, Linda," I told her one morning with a forced smile, "we'll make it as smooth as possible." What she didn't know was that while she was seeing Carl, I was meeting with my lawyer, a shark who understood the value of preparation. Our business, a small yet thriving home renovation company, had originated from my idea years before she joined. Though she later became a partner, I held the original incorporation rights and the majority of the assets. Linda assumed that half of everything meant the house, cars, and business profits. What she hadn't realized was that the business accounts, intellectual property, and legal ownership were all tied to me. My lawyer ensured every document confirmed my claims, while I emotionally withdrew from her. She didn't deserve to witness me crumble. She paraded Carl around like a trophy, boasting to friends about her newfound happiness. Every smile of hers only fueled my quiet, strategic dismantling of her assumptions. When the divorce papers arrived, she expected me to capitulate. Her lawyer demanded half the house, half the savings, and half the business. I agreed to the house and savings, things I could rebuild. But when it came to the company, my lawyer presented documents that left her expression draining away. Legally, she had no claim. Her smug confidence evaporated as her reality set in. Her half of everything was suddenly much less than she imagined. Linda left with Carl, moving into the apartment he promised as a fresh start. For the next 4 months I didn't reach out. I focused on myself, the business, and the children who mostly chose to stay with me because they knew where loyalty had truly been. I kept things civil, no bitterness, no public drama. Time became my ally and eventually it paid off. 8 months later, Linda appeared at my office, exhausted and worn. "Can we talk?" she asked quietly. She confessed that Carl had cheated, drained her savings and disappeared, leaving her in debt and disgrace. Her eyes shone with regret. "I made a mistake," she admitted. "I thought I needed excitement instead of stability." I studied her silently. The woman who once promised forever now sought the security she had rejected. "I'm sorry, Linda," I said finally, steady and calm. "You made your choice and I made mine." I stood, signaling the end of the conversation. She tried to reach for my hand, but I walked out of my own office without another word. That night, I slept peacefully for the first time in years. When people ask how I felt about her leaving, I tell them this. Sometimes betrayal isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of your freedom. Linda thought she was taking half of everything. In truth, she only took half the burden I had carried for 23 years.